When we look back at generations past, we often think of iconic trends in music, art, and fashion that grew to define each era. From the clothes we wear to the songs we sing, every form of expression says something about culture. And of these expressions, hair is perhaps the most recognizable. As the focus of workplace attire and religious traditions alike, the hairs on our head tell a story of our individual identity. But could the way we style it signify something greater? Is there a connection between the way individuals express themselves and the culture they're living in? If so, hairstyles might be the key. So what do haircuts say about the way that people choose to express themselves? Well, to find out, we came to the source of high fashion and cheap styles, the American Mall. All right, so I want to get your guys' opinions on a few hairstyles. The first one is hippie hair.
It's pretty good, not gonna lie.
Nah,
That's not it.
not yet.
What vibes do you give off?
80s.
A pothead.
Got this one right here.
That's not it.
No.
That's not it. That's not it.
What does that signify?
He's probably dead.
Commercials.
Yeah, that's not it.
So it's corporate.
Yeah.
Corporate.
It's corporate.
Yeah.
How has it been growing up with a mom who is a cosmetologist? How do you think that's affected your relationship to hair?
I would say it definitely dramatically persuades me to go for girls with nicer hair, I would say.
What would you say your hair is inspired by?
Probably the 70s, but my style is the 80s, but I do like faucet failure hair. Well, Farrah Fawcett hair.
What about that time speaks to you?
Rock and roll.
And what do you think your haircut says about you?
It says that I'm just really bright, bubbly, and happy person. Yeah.
Why do you like having longer hair?
I guess you can express yourself more, I guess. You express yourself in your hairstyle. So yeah.
I go for both a professional but also a little fun look. So that's I try to show a little personality.
I don't really style it that much except for like church. And so like just put some product in it and just make it look neatish.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you? What goes into your hairstyle?
Absolutely nothing. When COVID happened, the barbershops closed, so I just stopped cutting my hair.
You haven't cut it since?
No.
So by not cutting, by leaving it longer, I feel like it's sort of accepting things. It's like just letting it be natural, right? Like
Yeah.
just let it be how it is.
Yeah.
Does that reflect in your approach to life at all, would you say?
I guess, yeah. Just see what happens.
A haircut can either make you or break you too at the same time. A very sacred thing. A haircut is very sacred, you know. Like back in the times, you know, if you weren't a good barber, you probably would get crucified if you mess up the king's hair, you know. So, you know, it's a very important job to keep people going.
So how did we go from the prim and proper styles of the 1950s to the broccoli tops of today? To understand that, we must explore the origins of iconic hairstyles across time to see what previous generations were expressing. The first thing people notice about any style of hair tends to be its length. Hair length has been associated with many different traits across time and in cultures around the world. But what ties them all together is an underlying belief that hair is connected to a source of divine power, as many popular styles have their roots in ancient spiritual practices. One hairstyle became famous during the time of European imperialism in Africa. During that time, the Mau Mau of Kenya led revolts against British rule, and they used their hair as a form of intimidation. The British forces feared the Mau Mau warriors, and the sight of their locks during an ambush would bring dread into their hearts. Some believe this is where the term dreadlocks comes from. In Jamaica, Rastafarians grow their hair into dreadlocks as part of a religious tradition called the Nazarite vow. The Nazarite vow originates from the book of Leviticus, which states, "They shall not make baldness upon their head." Neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. The Old Testament describes Nazarites as a class of men who dedicate themselves in service to God. One of the most famous Nazarite warriors was the last judge of Israel, Samson. As the story goes, Samson possessed supernatural strength that came from his long, uncut hair. He used this strength to vanquish the neighboring Philistines. In one instance, he's said to have slayed 1,000 men in battle using only the jawbone of a donkey. However, Samson's rule was cut short after he fell in love with a beautiful Philistine woman named Delilah. While lying together, Delilah tricked Samson into revealing the source of his strength was his hair. As he slept, the Philistines cut his hair and blinded him. But while in captivity, Samson's hair quickly grew back and his strength returned. In one final act of vengeance, Samson used his bare hands to destroy the Philistine temple, killing thousands of enemies and sacrificing himself in the process. Christianity isn't the only religion with reverence for hair. With its origins in India, Sikhism is a monotheistic religion that teaches of the divine connection between man and God. Central to Sikhism is the belief that hair is a symbol of that divine connection, and thus cutting it is forbidden. This is the reason Sikhs wear turbans, which are used to keep their long hair under wraps as part of their devotion to God.
You know, partially it was just momentum. It was just like letting it grow out because I was just not obsessed about keeping it short, but I do feel like it's a natural thing. I enjoy feeling like I'm letting my hair be natural.
If you choose to wear your hair long, your beard long, or whatnot, that's just another outward representation of your desire for freedom. In my mind, you know.
Inspired by Eastern spiritual practices, long natural hair became an icon of counterculture that took root in America during the 1960s. During that time, a shared experience of psychedelic substances spurred a wave of music, fashion, and philosophy that rebelled against the industrious, clean-cut businessmen of the 1950s. As with the Sikhs and the Nazarites, the long-haired hippies were also unified around a movement, only theirs was conveyed through protest songs and paint splatter. The hippies were anti-war, pro-freedom, and above all else, they were open and accepting of nature. Whether you're religious or not, there's something undeniably natural about allowing your hair to grow. If there truly is one divine source for all things, then the hairs on our head are no different than the trees on the earth or the grass on the ground. If long hair symbolizes an acceptance of the natural, then what does short hair express?
What about just straight up bald?
It's a great solution.
Utilitarian, very easy.
Do you think about this hairstyle?
Reminds me of my dad.
Straight up bald.
Andrew Tate. He counts Andrew Tate.
Okay, but what does it convey? I know you said Andrew Tate, but what is that like? It's like strength, or what is it like?
Strength, yeah. Yeah, kind of a little bit, not really.
Masculine, maybe? Is it masculine? Is that
middle age, like, middle age. Yeah, maybe a little old.
I mean, like, with the guitar, I'd prefer people having long hair with it because you would easily, like, headbang and stuff like that. It'd be better than being bald and headbanging because it looks silly.
I'm probably going to have to rock the bald look probably pretty soon, but I don't think it's, like, bad or anything. I think a lot of men are afraid to go bald, though. I know that.
Yeah, it's a real thing. What do you think is behind the fear of balding?
Or that you're aging. It's showing that you're aging and people don't want to age, so... But, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's, like, bad or anything.
In our family, men lose their hair early. By the time we hit 30, we don't have to invest much in combs. So I started using Rogaine when I was like 28, at the first sign of fallout.
Peladophobia is defined as the fear of hair loss and of bald people. Hair isn't just a fashion statement, it's part of who we are. And for many, losing your hair can feel like losing your identity.
This is my hair. This is my hair.
While women can suffer from hair loss, the overwhelming majority of cases are found in men. In fact, half the men in the world are likely to experience hair loss by age 50. For most young men thinking of their future, hair loss seems inevitable. But in the face of this inevitability, there are those who embrace their new identity, finding power in their hair, or lack thereof. Hair might be tied to our identity, but before that hair has a chance to grow, everyone starts out as a baby with a bald head. One could say that long hair and baldness represent the duality of man. Maybe that's why so many iconic figures in pop culture rock the bald head. Whether their mission is to save the world or control it, hair only gets in the way of those determined to achieve their goals. And for the military, shaven heads also serve a role in reshaping one's identity.
Were you mentally challenged or physically? Both, sir.
As part of a unit, soldiers are made to work together, and they're taught to follow orders without question, leaving no room for individual expression or stylized hair that stands out from the others. Short hairstyles are also preferred in the world of business, where companies instill a workplace culture designed to keep employees working efficiently and obediently around the clock. They say you should dress for the job you want, but in many large companies, people are made to dress for their job.
And sir, you in the chair, what's inspiring your haircut today?
I just need to be presentable for tomorrow. Yeah, my boss was complaining I had 2 squirrels in my head.
Squirrels?
Yeah. It was long, as you can see.
So now you need to look professional and clean and like...
Yeah, and then I'll leave it grow for 6 months, and then again, repeat until they complain again.
In corporate structures and military forces alike, short hair is an expression of adherence to an orderly society. But not everyone fits into the boxes set up for them. And for those that want to break free from society's shackles, shaving your hair can also be the first step towards a new life path. Translating to wander forth, Pabaja is when a person leaves their home to live the life of a Buddhist monk. A core tenet of Buddhism is the belief that desire is the root of all suffering, and the only way to reduce suffering is to let go of desire. In pursuit of this goal, Buddhist monks must part ways with their earthly possessions, letting go of material things and social status. As part of this process, hair is no longer needed to maintain a self-image, as that would only feed the desire for vanity and validation.
Well, let me start off by saying it's an interesting hairdo. What does your dress mean? What does it say, or does it mean anything, or what?
It's just basically saying that you can do whatever you want to do, and it doesn't matter. I can be punk rock, if you want to say. I don't like the way society's run.
If soldiers shave their heads as part of their fight in a physical war, and monks shave their heads as part of their fight in a spiritual war, then perhaps punks shave their heads as part of their fight in a cultural war.
1, 2, 3, 4.
While the long-haired hippies hit the mainstream in the 60s, the side-shaven, mohawk-laden punks that emerged out of the 70s never quite reached mainstream appeal because they never intended to. As with the hippies, punks were part of a countercultural movement. They were outcasts and misfits who never wanted to conform to the culture of consumerism, bright colors, and fake smiles that dominated the 80s.
Culture is ape. They're not a counterculture. You think of the baboons as perhaps being a countercultural ape. The smaller monkeys are mainly red-eaters as well.
During that time, the counterculture expressed itself through punk rock, black clothes, piercings, tattoos, and of course, the mohawk. As its name suggests, the origins of this hairstyle date back to the Mohawk tribe of North America and American paratroopers during World War II. Instantly recognizable for its shaven sides and a long sliver of protruding hair that runs down the middle, the punks reintroduced the Mohawk in their own way. Fittingly, there is no singular style that defines punks, but what all punks share is a rejection of the system. And in expressing that rejection, punks want to stand out like a sore thumb, or a giant middle finger, and the mohawk stands as perhaps the most iconic representation of that. As the 90s approached, the punks' feelings of disillusionment towards society grew ever stronger until they evolved into something else entirely. No longer concerned with public appearance or societal expectations, Gen X answered the politics of their day with apathy. Where the punks drew attention to themselves, the counterculture of the 90s wanted to be left alone.
It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care. Don't care? It's a problem of motivation, all right?
The grunge movement was the culmination of that, conveying the raw, unfiltered expression of a generation that simply didn't give a fuck anymore.
I like it.
Is there something in the simplicity that makes it attractive?
Definitely. It's like you don't really give a shit. Like you're just gonna walk out the way you're gonna look that day, and that's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of same as
him. It's definitely the same as him.
In line with their music, Gen X established a new normal with their appearance, keeping their styles simple but allowing their hair to grow long, unkempt, and messy. This lackadaisical approach to styling hair expressed the raw angst and discontent that came from within an entire generation.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question? You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now, and you're not so big.
Grunge separated the cool from the lame, the corporate from the authentic, and the kids from authority. But it wouldn't be long before the pendulum of culture swung back in the other direction.
Life is unfair.
The early 2000s were shaped by two major events: 9/11, which marked the end of the world as we knew it, and the internet, which began a new one. After the attacks of September 11th, American culture took a hard turn into politics. Patriotism was reintroduced through national pride, pop music, and sports jerseys. What does any of this have to do with hairstyles? Well, as it turns out, very little. As with a well-manicured suburban lawn, hairstyles in the early 2000s were mostly kept short and clean-cut. During that era, mainstream culture dominated television through the 24/7 news cycle and entertainment that was dumbed down for the masses. Not satisfied with what was shown on TV, millennials ventured underground and onto the internet. In its early days, internet chat rooms, message boards, and blogs were satisfying outlets for self-expression and community, and out of them, new movements were beginning to form. But before a true counterculture had the chance to materialize, the internet was infiltrated by the corporate political machine, which quickly established a new order, and this time it was going global. During the 2010s, the internet changed drastically, and millennials began to channel their time and energy into social media, online games, and endless entertainment that shattered culture into a million fractured pieces. Millennials were the first generation that lacked any unifying culture to hold on to, and as a result, their internal feelings spilled onto the surface, manifesting as outward expressions of mania and depression. Reflecting the cultural instability of their time, millennial styles ranged anywhere from homeless-looking hipsters to manic pixie haircuts, as well as the entire spectrum of bright-dyed hair. In their most extreme forms, millennial hairstyles served as a warning label for the world that proudly exclaimed, "I am not well." And all of that brings us to the modern day, where the mullet and broccoli top reign supreme. In recent years, Gen Z has been showing signs of growth in a new direction. I spoke with a band at the forefront of this new wave of culture to ask about their hairstyles.
About the mullet, what do they say? Business in the front, party in the back. So the broccoli top
Business
is
on the sides, party on the top.
I mean, I think you get yourself some balls and let it grow. Stop trimming the sides, let it free. See, I always used to do the Bronco top, but now I feel like once I'm older and like a little more confident and like I'm not so insecure, I feel like I just want to, you know, be true to my curls. And I honestly, I want to see what they do. My curls might go out. I might throw up, they might go down, and might go sideways. Who knows, man? Who knows, man?
Yeah, so my girlfriend cut this hair. It looks really good, actually.
It's kind of like Bob Dylan.
Yeah, no, actually,
oh yeah.
My friend's grandma told me that. Kind of just risen me up a little bit. But, no, it kind of represents being like a little less clean
Softer.
cut.
No.
And like a little less clean cut and, you know, just a little more like raw, you know, like a little more like, I don't care, like, you know, like, I'm gonna let my hair grow out, you know?
But when a woman has long hair, it's fucking nothing. She's
What?
just fucking existing. Well, I'm not making a fucking statement with my long hair.
I never fucking said
It's
that,
just
girl.
not
It's the
happening.
same thing for you.
So I think, here's what I think about long hair. Who has long hair? Hippies do. You know, we're true to ourselves. We're letting it grow. We're letting it free. Like a tree growing, you know? You don't cut the branches of the tree. You let the tree grow.
Broccoli top is very orderly on the side, chaos on top. Edgar cut, orderly from the front, chaos in the back. Similar thing with the mullet. I think the trends of today say something about the culture and where it's going, and maybe we're trying to find a balance between that wild, untamed, natural chaos and that strict, clean-cut order. The waves of culture are felt by each and every person individually, but as we look at generations of the past, we can see the big picture and a larger pattern reveals itself through our collective expression. And while culture is always changing, one thing that's always remained with us is our hair. So whether you decide to grow it out and embrace the natural or shave it all off and go bald, the hairs on our head tell the story of who we are and how we feel for all to see. And who knows, maybe one day future generations will look back on the hairstyles of today and ask themselves, what were they thinking? Speaking of haircuts, I think it's about time I got one myself. Hey, you! Want to see outtakes and bonus footage from this video with added director's commentary? Sign up now on patreon.com/Glink to join the GTV network and gain access to exclusive videos. As always, thanks for the support to all my patrons, and thank you for watching. See you next time.